Catherine, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, Catherine, this article on the left losing the abortion battle has drawn attention, especially heading into an election year. Why so much interest?
You know, this article really highlights and amplifies the divisions that we've already known are there. The article talks about everything that the right is doing, that life advocates are doing, that pro-life people, just folks from coast to coast are doing, and in the heartland, to stand for life and to just support women and girls in sometimes difficult situations. And we know what we're doing. We know how we're standing for life and how we're reaching the American public and how we're reaching lawmakers. What we didn't necessarily know was the depth of the division on the left, the depth of the division within the abortion activism movement, with people who, it turns out, are quite divided culturally, financially, politically, and in so many other ways.
Well, we've seen, of course, laws in states like New York legalizing abortion right up until birth, and even attempts at legalizing post-birth. So where does that leave us?
You know, every time a state tries that, every time a state like New York passes a law like that, a Reproductive Health Act, they call it, and they light up the Empire State Building pink, and there's cheering in the streets of New York, you see that, you know, it is such a small fraction of people who actually support that. Because when you look at the polling, you'll see, even with New York, incredible, a double-digit swing in a one-month period from just before that RHA, Reproductive Health Act, passed to just after. And you saw a double-digit swing in the percentage of Americans who considered themselves pro-life. Because, in fact, when you see that that the left is trying to push these radical policies, is trying to push late-term abortion, is trying to push infanticide, just an absolutely horrible, horrific practice. You know, Americans say, well, you know, choice sounds like a nice word. I'd like to consider myself pro-choice, but if that's what pro-choice is, I want no part of that.
Wow. Well, where do the American people actually line up on the abortion issue these days? What are you seeing in the grassroots?
You know, it is incredible, all of the progress that we are seeing. When you look at the polling, you know, people don't necessarily want to call themselves pro-life or pro-choice. You know, both of those terms have gotten a little politically loaded at times. But when you start asking about the facts, when you say, well, you know, do you think that abortion is morally okay? You start seeing people swing and say, you know, no, that just feels wrong. When you start talking about life-affirming options, when you start asking people, do you think that there should be abortions when a child is viable, when a child could survive outside the womb, people say, hang on, that is not what we signed up for. And in fact, we absolutely oppose that. In fact, we did a poll just right after that New York law went into effect, and we found that 80% of Americans and 2/3 even of self-described pro-choice Americans oppose late-term abortions. They say absolutely not. That is a bridge too far. That is not what we signed up for when we thought we were pro-choice.
Well, Catherine, what can we expect from the pro-life movement going forward into 2020, and how can people pray right now?
You know, we are building momentum. Even just this year, we saw incredible results in the states with 25% more life-affirming bills passed into law than we had even the previous year. We are just building every single year. 58 pro-life bills passed into law. So we are seeing so much progress in the states. We are seeing incredible efforts at the federal level as well. It can be a little bit hard to get those through. As you know, things take a little bit more time there when you're a little bit farther from your constituents, and it can be hard. But we are seeing so much progress at the federal level, and then the Supreme Court. In March of next year, we are going to hear oral arguments on what could be the most important case on abortion since Roe v. Wade. So I would just say pray for your representatives, pray for your senators, and pray for those justices on the court. They have a very big decision ahead of them.
Catherine Glenn Foster with Americans United for Life, thank you so much for your insights and being with us today.
My pleasure.